Hello everyone and welcome to Alumni Talks. In today's webinar, you will learn more about the MBA programs at the David D. Reh School of Business at Clarkson University. My name is Ernita and I'm the moderator of this session on behalf of Unimai. I would like to thank you all for joining us and to welcome our panelists. Joshua Lafave, Director of Graduate Business Programs at David D. Reh School of Business, Jordan Smith, Graduate Recruitment and Enrollment Specialist at the Reh School of Business, and Abhi Sikinpur, Residential MBA alumnus. We will start with an overview of the MBA programs at Clarkson and find out what makes them stand out. Then we will continue with a panel discussion in which Abhi will share more about his academic experience and how it contributed to his professional development. Your questions are more than welcome, so if you have any, please write them down in the chat box anytime during the webinar, and we will take the time to address them accordingly. Now I would like to give the word to Joshua to present himself and the MBA programs at Clarkson.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And good morning, good evening, or afternoon, wherever in the world you're joining us today. We're just thrilled that you took some time out to visit with us to learn more about Clarkson University and the David D. Reh School of Business. So today, our goal is to share with you information about both our residential and our online MBA and the overall portfolio of the School of Business here at Clarkson University. So first, I want to just do a couple of introductions so you know who's here with us today. We have myself, I'm Joshua Lafave, Director of Graduate Business Programs. Then Tanya Kanto was going to be here today with us and couldn't make it for the session, but she is part of our team that actually supports all of our current students as well. We are a one-stop shop, so we support students from talking to you online today all the way straight through to graduation. We have Jordan Smith with us today, who's our Graduate Recruitment and Enrollment Specialist.
Everyone.
And then we also have alumni that we've invited to join us today. So I'll go ahead and I'll introduce you, and then you could just say hello if you want as well. But we have Abhilash Sinkanpur, who graduated from our residential MBA program in 2018, and he is with Success Factors. He's a Success Factors consultant with Veritas Prime, currently based out of Denver. So if you want to say hello real quick, Abhilash.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Joshua. Hi, everyone. This is Abhi Sikinpur, and I'm so happy to be on this whole seminar because I've been associated with Clarkson University for a long time. So I did my MBA from Clarkson University in 2018. I come from India, so it was a complete different experience for me. So it was 2 years of MBA residential, but a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhi. And you'll hear more from Abhi later on. I'm going to actually ask him some questions that allow him to bring his experiences to life and how he got to where he is today.
Sure.
The other alumni, Sasha von Wolfersdorf, he is actually based out of Qatar. He's the Senior Vice President and Global Operations for Qatar Airways. Just finished his online MBA in 2000, just this spring, actually. And unfortunately, as of last night, due to his role, he manages all of the operations on the ground for every city that Qatar Airways operates out of. And due to some circumstances in Afghanistan, he was unfortunately not able to make it today. However, he will have a video that we'll be producing and sharing in his stead. So unfortunately, he couldn't be with us today, but we're thrilled to have some alumni to be able to share their experiences with you. So my goal for today during our time is to spend about 20 to 30 minutes just talking a little bit about each of our programs, the student experiences, things that you can expect as a part of our program portfolio, as well as services and resources. Of course, for most of these sessions, you're used to learning about the admissions criteria, so we'll definitely talk about that as well. But again, the goal is to introduce you to the academic side of this experience, as well as learn from those that have gone through it. So we're going to talk about the residential program, our online program, and where those programs are at today and how we're supporting students, the resources available to online students as well as residential students. But given, one of the things that we've learned a lot from our sessions we've done, there's a lot of questions about how are you supporting online students, especially during this time where there's a lot of uncertainty about travel and about how the pandemic has impacted our abilities to continue on. So I want to talk a little bit about that as well. Of course, we'll talk about the investments and so on, and then I want to leave some questions for you to be able to ask us from things that you're learning today. So I think it's important to also talk about the overall portfolio. So we're here to talk about our residential MBA, which is is a program that's very flexible and can be designed to fit what you're looking to do. This program can be done in as little as 1 academic year. It can be done in 1.5 years, or it can be done in 2 years, depending on your overall goals, the experiences that you are looking to have, whether maybe pursuing an internship in between the first 2 years, or looking to spread the workload out so you can potentially do different types of concentrations, but there's a lot of flexibility. We also have, so these are our online options. We have our MBA or MS in supply chain, but we also have a healthcare MBA program as well that's based out of our campus downstate, closer to New York City in the Albany, New York area. On site, what we're going to spend a good amount of time talking about today, which is the program that Abhi has gone through, is our residential MBA program that's based out of on our main campus right here in Potsdam, New York. So let's jump right into the conversation about the program. So we call this a 1-year MBA program at Clarkson, and this is the accelerated version of the MBA program. When you hear from Abhi, what you'll learn is that this program, because of its design, if students spread this out, they're actually able to do the fall semester across 2 semesters, still full-time student, because we are spreading out this accelerated format. So this is a 38 credit hour program, and we have the format that we take on here is called a module format. So these are 2 credit modules where you're used to potentially learning about 3 credit courses as the standard. The way that we do that is we assume the students, or we require the students, have foundations in business completed prior to coming into the program. So what does that mean? I like to call this academic preparation. So in a lot of traditional MBA programs, you might take foundations even if you've already had them, or you have the foundation courses that are required as a part of the overall program. So at Clarkson, what we do is we look at the transcripts of the students that have applied to the program. So say, for instance, you've had statistics as a part of your experience in your undergrad or another program that you completed. So if you performed well in that course, then we would give you credit for it, and we would waive that requirement of the prerequisite. So we have a lot of students that come in who have no business background, and they actually are able to complete a program that we created several years ago called the Summer Business Concepts Program. And what that allows candidates to do is complete all of these core prerequisites, we call them, in the 3 months prior to the start of this program. So if you're admitted and commit to attend this program, you have this as an option. And you'll take these courses online. They are asynchronous, meaning they're on your own. You schedule your own time, prioritize your own time to complete them. And again, you're only going to complete the ones that you don't have a background in. So if you were an engineer, for instance, or some other major, maybe if you're here from India, maybe you have a B.Tech or a B.Commerce. You might have some of those courses, but you would likely need to complete the prerequisites. So these are like your micro and macroeconomics. These are courses that are introductory to accounting and finance. And we have designed these courses specifically in mind to prepare you for our MBA program. So with no business background, you still have the opportunity, if you choose to go this route, to do it in 12 months. However, most students that, especially if you're investing in your resources, your time, and you're traveling across the globe to study, this program is really also well suited for a 1.5 or a 2-year program. You have more time to engage in your learning, potentially in internships or other types of work opportunities. And then, of course, more time to network with employers and find the right fit during your studies. So as far as the program goes, there are 10 core courses in our MBA program, and you'll see a lot of similarities that span across most MBA programs as far as this curriculum. In the fall semester, there are 9 courses here. There are 2-credit modules, and we also split this fall semester into 2 halves. So we take our 15 weeks and we have 2 sets of 7-week modules. So you'll take courses in the first 7 weeks and you'll actually complete them. And then you'll take a new set of courses in a second 7 weeks and complete those. So that is the fall semester. It's our core courses, our core modules. And then in the spring semester is when you'll complete 5 electives, our strategic planning capstone. And then we also have an international study abroad, which is an experiential requirement of our program. And I'll talk about that in a moment. In the next couple of slides, we'll share a little bit more about the concentrations, but these electives are an opportunity for you to focus your studies in particular areas that you're interested in. We have certificate programs that are a part of our program. They're actually registered as a certificate. So you walk away with 2 credentials when you finish your program. One of them is in supply chain management. The other one is in innovation and new venture management. We also have concentrations with the data analytics, and I'll talk about in a few moments. We actually have a dual degree program with our master's in applied data science, which is the new name for the data analytics. That program is STEM designated, so those that pursue the dual degree do have the option for the extended OPT as well. So the electives you choose, if you decide to do a concentration or a certificate, there are three of your 5 electives you would be required to complete, but you don't have to do that. You can take 5 electives that are of interest to you under advisement. So we will conduct the advising with you. And then there is an option for studying abroad as well, which I will talk about in a few slides. The experiential unit is actually a faculty-led 2-week trip where you will travel abroad, visiting companies, have cultural excursions, and spend 2 weeks immersed in different cultures and countries. So the most popular trip has been a week in Thailand and then a week in Australia. That happens in March. So you actually still finish within the same accelerated time frame, but our calendar is a little bit different to accommodate this 2-week trip. So this is the format of this program. Whether or not you complete it in 1 year or 2 years, it's still 38 credits. We don't add credits if you decide to extend your time. But that is the core of our MBA program, is those 10 core courses, 5 electives, and the experiential trip. So as I mentioned earlier, as far as the experiential trip, that is a requirement to complete this experiential part. Now, if you're coming from another country, you could potentially just take, we have a global business strategies course, so you don't necessarily need to travel. It's always encouraged, but there are other opportunities for you there as well. It is a cohort program, so students begin, this program begins on Monday, so we're talking to you about this program right as we're getting ready to head in to complete it. But it's a cohort module format. As I mentioned with the modules, you're going through those together. Everybody goes through those. They're all in the same class in the fall semester. It's a cohort format, meaning that you're all starting together. You're going through the fall semester together. The spring, you do get to select your own electives. But overall, this is an opportunity to really get to network, build relationships. You have support in place. It's really a hallmark of our program is the cohort format, where you are indeed making lifelong professional relationships.
Josh, we do have a question about the experiential requirements. So one attendee asks, are there any business projects, internships, or other forms of hands-on experience as a part of the program that basically is either part of the experiential trip or anywhere else in the program in addition to it?
Okay. Yep. And Jordan, I think we'll wait to the end and ask these questions. Okay.
Gotcha.
But to answer that question, all of the courses are very much hands-on in the sense that we do a lot of simulations, case study formats, which is a very well-respected way to teach in an active learning way, the curriculum that you're pursuing. The strategic planning capstone course, you are working with a group and you are, very focused on solving real-world problems. You have actual issues that companies have in a case format that you'll prepare and study. So all of the courses have that type of active learning experience, especially as it relates to taking the theoretical framework of business knowledge, business acumen, and putting it into applied practice. But as far as the experiential trip, the trip itself is very much hands-on in terms of the learning, visiting companies, as I mentioned. There are a lot of other different types of experiences that are a part of that trip. But overall, the program itself is designed to be taught in a very applied fashion, right? So the whole idea of an MBA is to give you the business acumen, right? So the knowledge, the base skill set of what a business or organization is going to need to run and operate successfully, or all of those different factors that you learn about. But I think one of the other important pieces to your question about active engagement is you learn about the interplay between the different aspects of business, and you're challenged to to solve problems in ambiguous situations. And that's really the goal of those types of deliverables, is so that when you walk away with a degree, with an MBA degree, you're walking away also with a skill set of confidence in leadership capabilities, and the confidence in understanding how all of the things that you've learned in all of the different disciplines, how do they integrate together? What are all of the things that we as leaders need to know, but also how to execute, how to be a change agent? So these are all of the different aspects of a program, an applied program, and a program that prepares you to make an impact immediately in an organization. So, but very good question. We have had success with as I mentioned, with the tuition-free concepts program, and then we have very high placement averages. One of the things that you'll learn about Clarkson University is that we are very outcome oriented, meaning that you actually start working with the Career Center before you arrive. We're critiquing resumes. We are having you conduct assessments. We are putting you in front of employers within the first month of being here at Clarkson, and an opportunity to network and to really build your professional portfolio and teach you about personal branding. I think Abi will be able to speak to this. He works for an organization that I believe was founded by Clarkson alumni. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So you'll have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about that in a few moments. Sorry to put you on the spot, Abi.
No, that's fine.
So I want to talk a little bit about certificate options. So these are options, as I mentioned, that you can specifically focus and tailor your studies in. As I mentioned earlier, we have innovation and new venture. We have supply chain management. Supply chain management is one of our core competencies. We actually have been ranked by US News as a top 20 supply chain program. Students receive a lot of opportunities to engage with companies in supply chain, as well as all of the other, companies that come and hire for the innovation. If you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you want to learn about new products, you want to learn new product management, about market research. And then, of course, the data analytics. You may not have an interest in a full-blown degree in it, but you can pursue a concentration in that. As I mentioned earlier, the general MBA really is just a term used to describe that you individualize it. So when I meet with students and we talk about your goals, your career aspirations, we try to match, what electives are there, how can we best set you up for that success that you're looking for. As well as the international track, I believe that's the next slide. It is. So instead of doing electives here at Clarkson, there is an opportunity for you to actually spend a full semester abroad at one of our partner institutions. So perhaps international business, or other types of maybe a financial, global finance type of opportunity. It really depends on what's being offered at our global partners. But we have partnerships in France, China, and Australia. So these are institutions that you can actually spend the full semester in the spring, and then come back and graduate with your classmates. There are a couple of business schools in France. You can go to Monash University in Australia, which is actually where our current university president, Dr. Tony Collins, graduated from. So really great connections there. And then, of course, the City University of Hong Kong is a pretty popular experience as well. So you do have options to do this. As soon as you arrive, in the fall, this is something that we would be discussing and planning for if you decided that was something you'd like to do. But again, these international semester abroads would essentially replace the concentrations or electives and things that you would do here on our campus. And because you'd be studying abroad, that would also satisfy the experiential requirement. As I mentioned, we also have dual degrees. So we have an MBA and MS. It's interestingly, both of these have changed their names. The MBA and the MS in Applied Data Science, as I mentioned, that is a STEM designated program. This dual degree can be completed in 2 years, or you could spread it out, I believe, a little bit longer, depending on how you pursue it's 52 credits of the program. And then we have an MBA with an MS in now environmental policy. So the names have changed recently. And then if you're an engineer and you have an interest in potentially pursuing a professional engineering degree, there could be options as well for combined dual degree options there. But by and large, students are pursuing their MBA. If they do pursue multiple degrees, it is one of these two. But again, depending on your overall goals and what you're looking to accomplish. So before we get into the online programs, I thought I would actually take a pause here and spend some time with Avi and have him share some of his experiences at Clarkson University and in the program. So Avi, I have the questions, of course, but don't feel like you need to follow a script. You can really certainly go wherever you'd like to go. But if you could, again, just introduce yourself, a brief background of where you're from, your academic background, and then how you learned about Clarkson University when you were looking for an MBA program.
Sure. Thank you, Joshua. All right. Yeah. First of all, I come from India, and just to give you a brief background on what I used to do before I did my MBA, I was in the Merchant Navy for 7 years. I was sailing across the world. I've been to almost 48 countries, and it was a very kind of challenging job, and it was fun sailing across the world, meeting different people. They were multinational crew. I was working with Russians, Ukrainians, and Filipinos. Like, people were from all over the world. But right after that, like almost after sailing around 7.5 years, me and my dad, we opened a school, educational school back in India. And that's when I kind of gave a pause to my sailing career, and I went to India and started this whole business from scratch, where like we started recruiting teachers, getting all the stuff for the school, and building, construction, enrolling, and campaigning for students. It was like a complete different change. That's where I kind of recognized like I needed a lot of business information, in the sense that education, because I did my bachelor's in nautical science, and that's completely like studying sea, stars, and all that stuff, and how to sail a boat and stuff. But when I started working on the land and I was trying to work with my dad, there were so many challenges, especially business challenges that I was facing. Like, there's so much in your taxation, there's so much on your enrollment, hiring processes. So that's when I realized like maybe I should get an MBA or something in business. And at that time, my brother, he is a US citizen now. He came to US in 2007 for his master's. And he kind of guided me, is like, trust me, education can be same in all the countries, but the way the education is imparted to students is very, very much different here. So he focused on like my whole MBA program. He pushed me so hard. He's like, I don't want you to sail anymore, but you should come to US and do your MBA. And that kind of gave me another opportunity to meet my brother, because it had been so long. So that was one of the key features and key points of me kind of trying to enroll into something in US. Then I started looking up online. I did a lot of research, trust me, and I had like all these Excel sheets with comparison of, how many courses, what all programs are there, and what's the fees. Because like when you're planning on doing a career change, trust me, you need to be very, very kind of, thorough on your investigations on what you want to do in life. So that's when I found Clarkson University to be pretty good. And the reason being, like, the ranking was so good. They had these flexible, the admissions were kind of all across the, like, I think they have some kind of, all universities have, either you can join fall or you can join spring. but there was a rolling admission with Clarkson that time. And that was one of the other reasons. It was very close to where my brother lived in Pennsylvania. So that was another key feature. But also, like more than that, I had a few friends who were actually working and like studied from Clarkson. That was like a point of contact, which I started calling them and checking with them, and they gave such good reviews. So that was my kind of research before I did my MBA. But I came there in 2016. Initially, now my whole background was not business at all. So that's when I decided, like, they do have this MBA program for 1 year, but am I good enough to complete it in 1 year? That's where like, oh, maybe I should like stretch it out initially. And that's what I did. Like when they asked me for the first time, do you want to do in 1 year or 2 years? Even though it was flexible, like I could, but I had no clue what the subjects were. What is finance? What is this? So I was like very skeptic about myself and my capabilities at that point. So I enrolled in the 2 year program. I started the course just like everyone else. The introduction and I think the orientation was so, I don't know if you have seen any photographs on social media. They had an amazing orientation where we kind of bonded with different, I think, group activities and stuff. I still remember, I have it on my Facebook. It was very fun. And that's when I kind of, getting that feeling, even though I left school so long back and all these kids were like quite young to me, like they were like 20, 21. So, but it was so comfortable for me to kind of blend in. And just because like the faculty, like, you get to introduce with all different faculties of your courses in the initial orientation where you meet, you have dinners, and you start getting to talk to them. You understand like, okay, what they're coming from. Students from different countries were there, like from Sri Lanka, from Iraq, and all those places. Still, you blended in so well, just like your friends. So that that was the point when I was like, okay, let me start studying. And the courses that you saw online, and I think Joshua was showing you, I had no clue. I just wanted to do a general business degree. But then when I started doing it and I started attending those classes with like Professor like Farzad Mahmoodi, I don't know if you've heard, and one of the most amazing professors I've studied under. And like you get that liking for those subjects. And even though you might not appreciate it just by looking at the names, but trust me, once you start doing it, it's a great, great help. And yeah, that's how I started, and I did my MBA. And I got my concentration in supply chain. But by the end of one first year, I was like, oh, maybe I want to do data analytics also. So kind of I expanded and I did my data analytics also. So that's how like more or less I did it in 2 years. And I don't repent because I got to spend more time in the college, which I missed so much, and got to meet a second batch, a third batch. So it was fun. And yeah, that was more or less from my end.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate your introduction and how you got here. I didn't know the story about before what you were doing beforehand, but that does sound like a pretty fun job. So when somebody coming in without a business background, right? So obviously there's a lot of trepidation about what am I going to be able to do this curriculum? Am I going to be able to understand it? I don't have this background. So can you talk about your experiences in the class, like in your modules, in the electives, like being someone who came from a non-business background? How did you find yourself, keeping up with the material? Did you have like a lot of classmates and you're all there to support each other? Talk to me about your experience in the classes themselves, and how faculty supported you in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a perfect example for you guys. Trust me, I had zero background, like I mentioned, about business. So, like they mentioned, just before I enrolled, they gave me these summer courses that I was able to do in back in India while I was working on a school project there. So, a lot of the study material, like everything, in fact, is provided to you that you can go through. And these are the basic steps, like these are like prerequisites which are required for these courses. And I would highly recommend those and do them thoroughly, not just like, glance through and clear the exams. But the reason being that gives you a background of these subjects. And even though it might look like, okay, oh, there's a lot to understand, all these subjects are very fancy, but once you enroll in them, like the professors do take you step by step. They understand that people are coming from different backgrounds, and they don't just assume that you have a bachelor's in business or something. So the way the curriculum is, they do build up on all these subjects, and slowly and gradually, step by step. Apart from that, they do have their office hours, and you can always, and we, like myself, I know every time after the classes, the next class used to be in the like professor's office, and they are more than happy to explain you on, because I was not having a background, so I used to visit them quite often, and they used to like be more than happy to make me understand, like, okay, how does this come up? And you don't have to be shy or anything. You can, they're always open for questions and answers. Apart from that, even the students, I found it very healthy relationship with the students too, because initially I was like, okay, maybe they won't be comfortable. You're coming from a different country, and also sometimes you feel like they're too young or they're too old for you to, have that kind of a bond. But trust me, we had like students ranging from 21 till 45, and it was so healthy. It was like a group of friends, like, and we used to have, I don't know if it's still there, the MBA lounge, along with the different now they converted it into something else in the innovation hub or something. But that used to be our like hangout place. Like, people are with their coffees, with their lunch and everything, and discussing over different topics and doing the courseworks together. And it was very helpful, because when you don't understand anything, you don't have to like crack your head and find out stuff from just books. Go to your friends, talk to them, and they'll be like, they were, at least with me, I found them so helpful. We were having this whiteboard everywhere, like, somebody's explaining something, you just stop by them and then understand the whole concept. And that used to be like so fast learning compared to what you would do on a table, just open through all the books and notes. So that kind of study, that group study, was very effective. So yeah, and I think even though no background of business, I was able to like be the student of the year, and I'm more than happy to brag about it. But yes, it's very easy if you are dedicated, if you are focused, and if you are not shy. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So we do have an MBA lounge and
Okay.
specific study rooms that only MBA students can sign out for. So that's what Avi was talking about there. But thank you. No, I really appreciate that. And it's always comforting to know. And I think that goes back to the value of a cohort program too, is supporting each other in that sense. Yes, Jordan.
Yes, so we do have a question for Avi at the moment, which is, what would you say was the most difficult or challenging part of the program?
The most difficult, challenging, I would say it's just the initial few weeks. You might find it a little challenging because everything is new. And like they mentioned, if you are in that 1-year program, the courses are a little fast tracked, in the sense you will have to take extra classes, spend more time studying. But if you're just coming from a school like bachelor's and directly, I don't think you'll have any difficulties there. It's just that since I had a long break, I had to kind of grasp so many things, suddenly read a lot of books and case studies and stuff. But technically it wasn't, since I spread it out for 2 years, there wasn't any difficulty I faced, and the professors were more than happy. And also I forgot to mention that you get to do these what is it called, you have oh my God, I'm forgetting the word. So you work with professors and assistantship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like some years. Like, so these graduate assistantship, and yes, as an international student, there are a lot of times when you feel like, okay, I might have some financial issues and stuff. But trust me, the Clarkson University, also the finance department, was super helpful in making things easier. And a lot of times that that transaction and everything was a little hectic for me because you get to a state where you have to pay these things, but the graduate assistantship was very helpful. You could enroll into those if you're interested. But yeah, I think difficulty wise, I'm not sure I had any major difficulties, but initial first few weeks, you will face some, difficult times just to pop up and blend in. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to talk briefly with you about, well, you mentioned the student life aspect of it and that you all became very close and doing those things. Were you involved at all in the Graduate Business Association, or did you help contribute to, as far as you think about the student experience, right? So it's one thing to come for an MBA, but another thing to be able to walk away with an experience that is enhanced also your overall, experience and time at Clarkson, but ultimately relationships for the future. Can you think of any activity or something that you did in particular that your class did that was memorable in the sense of, that bond, or just, the overall experience? Maybe it has to do with living in Potsdam. Maybe you can talk about that, just the overall, that aspect of your time here.
Absolutely. So like you asked me, yes, I was part of a few groups like outside MBA as well as an MBA. So I was the vice president for our Indian Student Association, where I got to like do all the, so a lot of students come from India, and I was handling how they were coming and giving them a lot of information, arranging for their accommodation here in Potsdam. So I was doing that work. Apart from that, I was the president for Graduate Business Association, Joshua. So I was kind of involved in a lot of activities that we did. It was also like, I don't know if you remember, we were it was like 4 or 5 students, and one of the professors we had represented United States in John Molson MBA International Competition. So we all went to Canada, Montreal for like a week, and we got to actually, like, there were like Fortune 500 companies who had come with their issues, and we were one of the groups who were like kind of resolving their, consulting them and giving them solutions. So it was an amazing experience. We got to meet so many students from so many countries. I think there were like 18 or 20 countries that had come there. So there was so much networking. Even now, I have friends in Canada working for all those big companies, and we are like so good pals just because we met on those competitions. And apart from that, in Potsdam, yes, there are so many activities to do. So we had a lot of outdoor activities, like we went for paintball, all the MBA students with the professors. We went for like activities in skiing for during winters. You will enjoy skiing there. There are so many fun activities that we used to hang out every now and then. There were like coffee bars where you go and study during your exams. There were like every MBA nights, and there were like, from a fun perspective, yes. From a professional perspective, you meet so many people. Potsdam is a small place, but that's why everybody face to face. If you go to a bar, you'll find people, you'll find professors, you'll find teachers, and everybody. You'll find working professionals, and so that close-knit networking happens there. And just because of the networking, let me tell you, right now I work for a consulting company in the United States, which was started by Clarkson Alumni. So the managing partners of this company are, I don't know, a 90s batch or something, but they have like so many Clarkson alumni in their company. And that was one of the reasons why I was kind of, I got this opportunity to kind of, even have that face-to-face talk over dinner, and they liked me and I was hired. So that kind of like bond is very strong, and you get to meet so many people, like, and then all these, especially if you're involved in those graduate meetings and stuff, GBA activities, you will have like meet so many speakers. You get to organize so many talks, and I think there's a lot of cultural exchange that happens there.
That's wonderful. And it's funny you mentioned the John Molson case competition. I just submitted a registration for that for this.
Oh.
So I think it's really important for our students to get out there and to be able to compete. and showcase their business knowledge as well. So that's great. One last question, and I do know we can continue on here. There's never enough time, I feel like, to talk about the programs, but you mentioned that you were hired by Veritas Prime. Can you talk about the services or resources for career placement? We tout at Clarkson that 1 in 5 Clarkson alum is a CEO, C-suite executive, or owner of a company. What do you think gives us that ability to say that? Maybe you could talk about, maybe the career services or the amount of employers that you were able to visit with. Just a couple minutes about your experiences on that side of things.
Sure. And so just from a career perspective, like Joshua mentioned, that right from, the time you start enrolling in all these courses, there is something, they have a career center wherein you keep having these meetings and classes where your resumes are critiqued. You can enroll in different mock interviews. I did a lot of mock interviews with those groups. So it was so helpful, because sometimes when you have stopped applying for jobs for a long time, you don't know what exactly needs to be on the resumes and what needs to be told on those one-on-one calls and meetings with the companies. So it gave us a really good background even before we met all these companies. So I would highly recommend that when you are there, take the full advantage of Career Center and get your resumes critiques every now and then. Get to know how you should portray all the academics, accolades and stuff. So that's very important. Once that is done, and Clarkson has a very strong network when it comes to companies. So all the career fairs that you'll see, you will have so less time to even go through all the companies once. So it goes for I think a few days, 2-3 days, and they have different sections. And there were so many companies, you had to get your resumes printed so many times. And it was fun. And trust me, they allow you to print your own resumes too, right? Just so they're making it so simple. The companies come right to your doorstep. And then if you go and talk to all these companies, mostly you'll find all Clarkson alumni there, either the representatives or the bosses or whoever has come for recruiting. And every time they start, oh, you're from this batch, do you know this? And there's they make you so comfortable. So I found almost all the companies that I had visited during the career fair, everybody was Clarkson alumni. 90% of them would be, either related or directly studied here. So that shows that, people from Clarkson University are going places. And it's not just any small company. You'll find GE and God knows all big companies also. So I feel that there's a lot of opportunity, but you have to step out. You have to come out of the comfort zone. And that is made very easy by the Clarkson alumni, teachers, faculties, as well as those mentors who are gonna, help you build your resumes. So reach out to everyone that you can, because everybody is very helpful. And my company, so out of when they started with around 20-25 people when I joined them. Now they are in 3 countries. They have in Canada, Peru, and UK, Peru, and US. And you will see everybody in US is, first of all the 3 bosses are from Veritas Prime from Clarkson University. So everybody graduated from here. And that itself gives you that kind of, repo, hey, these are the bosses from my own school. And I feel it's so comfortable even working for your own seniors. It's amazing that bond is very thick and very strong. And all the interns that we get, mostly everybody prefers Clarkson University because they know the culture, they know how they were taught, they know how the studies were. So I think, yeah, it's helpful, but at the same time, you have so many people supporting you and everybody is related to Clarkson somehow. So yeah, the network is pretty strong.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so much. It's really great to hear all of the experiences come to life and how that got to you to where you are. And again,
Yeah.
I thank you for getting up so early. I know it was 7 a.m. for you, and but so many different time zones. We're so grateful for your time, and really appreciate you sharing your experiences. And if you're able to stick around until the end, perhaps there'll be some other questions for you.
We do actually have one other question in the docket for Abhi right now.
Okay, go ahead.
So Abhi, just to finish things off, could you provide any sort of tips or advice for going through Clarkson's application process, how you prepared to be admitted, how long it took, and how your interview process went?
Yeah, sure. And I think the process is very smooth. Trust me. Like, I like the university. I think I just sent one email at the beginning, and I can't recall who it was, but it was one of the recruiter or somebody. So from that point, I was not the one initiating. It was always like, okay, Clarkson email came and they'll ask you for some transcript, and they'll send you a list of documents that they are requiring. And like they send you all the details about how the insurance needs to be done and what all is required. They also give you places, details about where you can stay in Potsdam. So trust me, like the process was very smooth. Interview wise, we had some communications through emails as well as one or two phone calls, but it was just to understand like my requirements, my needs, and more like answering questions that I had. But other than that, like once you are in Clarkson, you don't have to worry about anything. The only thing is before you come here, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Clarkson University or whoever is engaging with you. And in fact, if you don't find anyone, just like you can take my email and just ping me. I can reach out to people, somebody who can help you with. But yes, the process was super smooth. It's like, and every international student has those. And if you apply for any international college, trust me, you will have to go through some processes like getting vaccinated and all these stuff. So, but everything was well documented, well descriptive, details were given. So I would say just reach out and have those questions ready, and they're more than happy to answer all these questions.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to take a few more minutes to briefly mention there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about today, but I am grateful that we were able to spend so much time with Abhi today. For those of you that might be online today who maybe perhaps you're looking for online options, what I wanted to mention briefly is that we do actually have an online MBA program that mirrors in many ways the residential program in the sense that there are the same 10 core courses and there are 4 electives. Again, you can pursue concentrations in supply chain or leadership or data analytics. And again, depending on where you're coming from, a residential experience may be really what you're looking for. And that's why I wanted to spend most of the time today with that. If you're looking for an online option, we do have this program. And I'll share a little bit about some of the accolades both of our programs have received this past year. But this does have a 100% online option. It also has an option of a weekend residency, so not a full, semester experience, but there is an opportunity to travel for a residency portion of the program. So these classes, the structure is a little bit different, but it is the same core courses, and admissions-wise, it is the same requirements as well. But again, I'll just mention briefly, with that. And the online MBA program is on a quarter-based program, so you're actually taking courses over 10 weeks versus a 15-week semester. And much of these programs, and all of these courses, I should say, one of the key differentiators is that we do require 1 hour of live class one night a week, right? So that's what Sasha was going to talk about, is how he was able to complete this program while studying in guitar. And given his professional, obligations, he wasn't in a position to travel and live and learn in the United States, but wanted a degree, that was the same as, taught by the same faculty as a residential program. And that's one of the hallmarks of this program, is that many of the faculty teach in both. So as I mentioned, as far as the elective coursework, these are some of the areas that you could study. We do have the healthcare coursework, as well as the leadership, data analytics, and supply chain. Again, these are those electives in the program, very similar in nature to our residential program. So just to mention briefly, we typically it takes 2 years to complete this program by taking 2 classes each quarter. So full-time enrollment on a quarter system is 6 credits per quarter. This program has the foundations built right within the 3 credit module or core courses. So doing the summer coursework would not be required in this program, again, because the structure is different in the sense that you'll do some of that work in the classes themselves. I did mention that we have a 3-day weekend residency for one of our courses that's in the summer or in the fall. And we also have an online version now that is done during the spring. So if you're looking for potentially for a 100% online program, we are also doing cohorts of that as well. I think we have a slide later on. I want to address rankings really quick. But then we also have students that complete a combined MBA and MS in data analytics also. And I do apologize for going a little bit faster. I noticed the time and I want to leave some time for questions at the end. And then I'm just going to mention, as far as the online programs, we like to say that they are flexible, accessible, and efficient, especially given that we have, the way that the quarter-based program is 4 quarters per year. So we have rolling admissions, just like we did for the residential program. I think, Abby, you said you started in the spring, sounds like. So
Yep.
yeah, so we're always admitting students and meeting the students where they're at. I think the most important thing about the Reh School of Business is that we want to create programs that work for you, not have you work around our programs, right? So that's where that flexibility piece comes in. Accessible, whether it's in person or online, these programs are accessible in many different formats. We believe in the online environment, we believe in synchronous learning as well as asynchronous learning. And of course, if there's any silver lining to the pandemic is that it really validated online education as well, right? So there are opportunities for us to provide you with the same quality experience that you have in the residential platform. So just real quickly, with an online program, a lot of people ask, well, how do you teach it? What do you do? As I mentioned, we have the live components. We're living in Moodle and Zoom, although I think professionally, most people around the globe are living in Zoom. Sort of wish I had stock in Zoom at this point. And it's very highly accessible. Faculty are accessible through virtual office hours, you name it, they're there to support you. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, as far as resources, we are building an online community for our online students. We have orientations online. You have the same access to career services. So we have a dedicated liaison with the Career Center for our business students. So this person supports both residential and online students. You're welcome to participate. We have a global, well, I think it's global now, but the Handshake is this integrated network of job postings. But the career fair is there to support you no matter what program that you're in. And of course, like with residential, it's all about stakeholder, support and and that network that you build. Abby mentioned earlier that we have a lot of Clarkson alumni that come back to hire more Clarkson alumni because the company loves the product. They love the outcomes that they have in Clarkson alum. Advisement, so we are a one-stop shop here. So whether you are doing the residential program or an online program, our team supports you from beginning to end. And it's that professional connection through the entire student life cycle, whether it's advisement or coordinating programs, all of those different things are a part of that. I see we have 5 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is briefly bring this up and then open it up for questions. All programs in the Reh School of Business have the same application requirements, which is your essay, which is a statement of intent, a letter of intent, resume, transcripts. We do take unofficial transcripts for the purpose of a decision. We do require GMAT and GRE scores, letters of recommendation. And for students coming from other countries, we do have 2 other requirements. One of them is equivalency to a US bachelor's. So for anyone that might be here from India, as an example, we do accept 3-year bachelor's in BTech and engineering. And then we do accept 3-year degrees if your institution, and you can read all this online, but if it was accredited by NAAC, we do accept 3-year bachelor's as well. But all of those details are online. And then, of course, language. If English is not your primary language, you will need to submit an English proficiency exam. But all of that is online. And of course, we'll follow up with each of you and answer any questions that you have. So, Jordan, I think what I'd like to do is open this up to questions, and I can talk about scholarships if we have time as well afterwards. And then the last thing is just to mention, this past year has been a great validation of some of the hard work that we're doing here. Both of our online and residential programs ranked by US News, Boas and Quants, and the online MBA just received a top 50 global online MBA ranking, and number 3 in class experience. We're very committed to that kind of experience in an online environment. And then Fortune magazine has also just recognized both of our programs. And I say all this because it's a testament of the hard work that this institution puts into producing quality graduates like Avi, who can go out and make a difference in the world. And we're really proud of that. So Jordan, I apologize that we're going so fast, but Jordan, why don't we open this up to questions? And if there's any admissions or scholarship questions, we can certainly address that as well.
Absolutely. So first off, we actually have another question for Avi. Zachariah asks how challenging it is for international students to get financial aid. What is the sort of cost like for international students in terms of cost of living and the sort? How much it costs to live in the area and all that sort of thing. And then lastly, they also have a couple of questions about admissions, which we can answer.
Sure. So I can give you a rough number, I would say, because it was in 2018 and times have changed. But for me, like, first of all, I saw another question where you're asking about the visa. So all countries, and I can speak for India right now, but once you are approved and everything is good with the Clarkson University, they send you an I-20 form. And with that, like, the visa process is very smooth. Like, all you need to tell them is like, okay, this is where I'm going to study. Depending on countries, you'll have to show your financial status before you leave the country, just to make sure, because US Embassy would like to know that you can afford your studies and stay. So that can come through any of your finances that you have, maybe savings or some properties. And so it really depends on the way you want to portray and show that to the embassy officer. But the cost of living in Potsdam is not high, and there are a lot of houses which you can rent with your friends and your MBA batchmates. And when I moved, like, I was there like at 3 different places. Trust me, like, everything was super smooth. And since it's a college place, it's a lot of students, so you can find accommodation very easily. And the Clarkson University and Potsdam itself is so close that you can actually walk to your school. And I always walk to my school, so it's not too far. But yeah, I think the cost of living is not at all high. There's no, you don't have to worry about living there and expenditures and stuff. Is that does that answer your question, or am I missing something, Joshua, Jordan?
I'm reading that right now. I think
I'm reading that too.
When you talk about the GRE or GMAT, that is a part of the application process, right? So the way that admissions works here is it's the overall merits of an application. We do typically like to see a 550 or higher on the GMAT exam, but if your other aspects of your overall portfolio are strong, and your language exam's strong, all of these other aspects, work experience, all of that is a part of how we decide admission, as well as the level of merit aid. So as far as your GMAT, the higher that score is, obviously the stronger your overall strengths in application are, which helps support admission, but also different levels of merit scholarship. So we do accept the GRE or the GMAT. Either exam is fine. And again, we are typically looking at like a 550, which is about a 152 on each section of the GRE as well.
Excellent. Right. So jumping into the next question, and this is for either of you, Josh, Avi, if either of you have input on this, would be great. They want a little bit more information about how the school assists students with getting a visa.
So I can just talk from a really brief level there, and then I don't know, Avi, if you have any experiences there, but we do have an international student and scholars office, right? So we do have experts in U.S. immigration who can, help you prepare your I-20 document, help you, know exactly what, what the steps are to obtaining your visa. But, we can't legally, get involved with any aspect of you applying for the visa, interviewing for the visa. We do all of the legwork on the federal side as far as the documents and making sure you have what you need. But that's really where, our role stops, and then preparing for the visa interview and those aspects of it really is you. But I know that in country, there are a lot of resources for helping you prepare for visa interviews and things like that. But Avi, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to share from your experience.
Yeah, so Joshua, all that Clarkson sends to the students in that admission packet, all the paperwork as well as I-20 and stuff, I think that's more or less enough for the visa interview. And for me, like I just took those documents along with, yes, you have to show the proof of finances. That's one of the key features, because that's where a lot of students get rejected, because if they can't show it before they leave the country, the visa officer itself, they will reject it. But from the document perspective, what you guys send is more than enough for any student to take it to the embassy.
Right. Yeah. So once you're admitted, you will have to provide proof of funding, and we do provide you with a dollar amount that the federal government kind of helps, set for us. You have to provide proof for your first year of study. You don't have to provide proof every single year you're here, but you do for your first year of study. And in some cases, scholarships are part of that proof of funding. The university is committing to certain scholarship amounts for you. But in your case, you have to provide proof not only for tuition, but also all of your living expenses, travel, everything that would surround, your any spending that you would have to do here. You would have to provide proof for that. But yeah, so it's a good question. Any other questions, Jordan? I see we're over time, and I just want to be mindful of that.
Yes. So we have two questions. First off, one from Danilo Tetsi, who asks if it is possible to do the MBA program entirely online, which yes, it is. We do have a 100% online option. And then secondly, from an anonymous attendee who asked us to quickly go through the main requirements of the program in terms of test scores, GPA, English language testing, work experience, and anything else.
Sure. So as far as admissions, work experience is not a requirement for admission. But for those that are applying with work experience, it is taken into account not only for merit scholarship and admission, but when you think about admission into the program, we do offer potential GMAT waivers for people with 5 years of work experience or more. That is evaluated on an individual basis, of course, but the full comprehensive admissions policies you can find online. But that is a big aspect of that. As far as admissions, I think I've already mentioned, what's required per se, as far as that goes. But online, you'll see when it comes to international student admissions requirements for English language proficiency, we accept the TOEFL or the IELTS. We accept Pearson PTE academic, which is not as common, but also Duolingo, which is actually becoming really a leading exam because you can do it from home. So, and it's less expensive. So the Duolingo is also a part of that. On a case-by-case basis, we may waive a language exam requirement. Say for instance, you've studied in the US for a few years, or you've studied in a country where English is the official language. It's one thing, if you went to school where you were taught in English is not enough. It really is, because then when you leave there, you might not speak English again. So really, we just want to make sure you're successful here. That's really what it boils down to. So language exams is a part of it. And then as far as the equivalency to a US bachelor's, depending on the country you're coming from, obviously there are different requirements for a bachelor's degree. As I mentioned, we have a pretty robust policy on, degrees from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, because a lot of similarities exist there. But overall, that's something that we can counsel on a case-by-case basis. So does that answer the questions, Jordan?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions?
Nope, that was the last one.
Okay. So as I mentioned, thanks for sticking around late with us. You always have in your mind, we want to cover everything, but I just really wanted you to hear the experiences of our students. I think it's the most important one. And certainly we can follow up with all of you that have joined us today, and really grateful that you signed on to learn more about Clarkson University and the Reh School of Business. We do hope that you have a chance to look at our website, go more in depth, and again, reach out. We can certainly schedule individual Zoom calls or whatever we can do to help you not only learn about Clarkson and this programs as a fit, but if you just want to have a conversation about graduate education, MBA programs, or studying in the US, I'd be happy to schedule those times with you as well. So thank you to Abhi. Thank you, Jordan, for helping with the questions. And I guess from here, we'll say thank you. Have a great day. We'll pass it back over to you.
Just one question, Joshua. Do you have any email or other way people would be able to contact you in case they have further questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. And then one answer for me to the question, to one of the questions. There was a question whether the webinar is going to be recorded and if people will be able to receive the recording. Yes, you will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording on YouTube. So yeah, I guess it's the time to say goodbye now. Thanks to all the speakers today. We learned that doing an MBA at Clarkson is a very enriching experience. It's a very flexible program that provides opportunities for networking, cultural exchange, hands-on learning, and eventually, subsequently, greater career placement. So thanks, Abhi, Jordan, and Joshua. It was a pleasure meeting you today, and we'll keep in touch.
Likewise.
Wishing you a wonderful day ahead.
Great.
All right. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.